What's up, guys? Welcome back to Zilla MMA. I am your host, as always, the Zilla. I want to start this episode like I do every episode by thanking the viewers. Thank you for watching. I hope you're subscribed already. If not, please go subscribe and like this video. Leave comments so I can interact with you. I really want to grow this channel and put out more content, so we need that interaction to be able to do that. This video today is further into UFC 294. We're going to break down the co-main event of Usman and Chimaev here. Obviously, last minute replacement here for Usman. Also, want to go ahead and apologize if I have any issues with my voice during this video. I think I'm coming down with some kind of cold, but huge card, so I'm putting out as much content as I can, and I'm just going to push through this here for you. So hope you guys appreciate it and enjoy the video. I've been pretty candid. If you watch my last video, which I highly recommend you do, where I broke down the main event versus Makhachev and Volkanovski, I don't like these Russian fighters at all. I have issues with a lot of them. Chimaev, maybe more than any of them. I don't like. I think he's kind of a jerk from his interviews. I don't like how he completely disregarded that he missed weight in that last fight and almost screwed up the entire card and was celebrating as if he was ready to beat the world, but he can't even make weight. And I also just have the suspicion with all these Russian fighters that they are either actively juicing or have juiced at some point in their life. I think it's pretty evident when you look at these fighters that that's the case. But I did my best in this to keep a unbiased opinion and be able to distinguish how I think this fight is going to go without that playing a part. But with that being said, I just want to have that precursor here so you know where I'm coming from with some of my information. But we'll go ahead and start by talking about how we got here. Paulo Costa was originally in this spot. Got surgery for the first time supposedly about 15 days ago. Rumors that he was going to try and fight through it. Things were coming through Twitter. It was really weird. Didn't know if this fight was on or off. But as of about a week ago, fight officially called off. I think the UFC's known about this, at least the potential of him not being able to fight for several weeks. So I assume at the very least they've been working on getting Usman in here as a backup. I haven't seen anything that confirms that, but that would be my suspicion with this, that this isn't as last minute as the Volkanovski situation. Usman moving up to 185 in this spot, says he is going to cut some weight. Nobody really knows how much at this point, but from the videos and pictures I've seen, he doesn't seem to be so much bigger that I think he's not close to 185 already, maybe like 190, 195. So that remains to be seen, but that's a tad bit concerning for me. But at least he's over the weight. That's good to see that he is going to cut some weight for this fight. So looking at this fight, I really started looking at it last week, but I started by looking at Chimaev in this spot. Went back and watched every fight he's had in the UFC just as a reminder to make sure that he is the fighter that I think he is. And my opinion about him is correct. And watching these fights pretty much confirmed everything that I thought. We'll go ahead and get into it. So first fight in the UFC is against John Phillips. If you don't know who he is, no one else does either. Taken down immediately in both rounds of this fight, 10-7 in the first and finished with a Darce in the second. John Phillips 1-5 in the UFC. No takedown defense. 3 of his 5 UFC losses by submission. And was just manhandled here. Taken down immediately in both rounds. Put up no fight here. Doesn't show me anything about the fighter. Next fight. Fights Reese McKee. Immediately taken down and finished in the first. This guy's a natural lightweight. He had just moved up to this weight class. No wrestling in his arsenal. Went 0-3 in the UFC. What does that tell us? Absolutely nothing as well. Obviously, Chimaev, very impressive in both of those spots. We learned nothing there. Gerald Mearshart, a guy I'm a big fan of. Chimaev knocks him out very quickly in the first round, showing our first look at what he can do on the feet in the UFC. We hadn't really seen that up to this point. But this man's a journeyman. You know, that's what Mearshart is. And like I said, I'm a fan of him, but no one would consider him elite competition. 10-9 in the UFC. No shortage of being knocked out in his career. He had just been knocked out previously in the first round by Ian Heinisch just like 3 months before this fight. So not really showing us anything there as well. So 3-0 in the UFC, moves on to the Leech. They wanted to get him a ranked fighter. The Leech was ranked at this time. Takes him down and finishes him with a rear naked choke very quickly in the first round. I will note, had a more difficult time getting that rear naked choke than I would have liked to see. The Leech defended it pretty well on the ground for a while and eventually just ran out of juice, and Chimaev gets the finish here. But they wanted to get him a ranked fighter, so they pick a guy who's barely ranked. Had a recent loss to Neil Magny, if that tells you anything about him. And this is the best competition up to this point, but there's no grappling in this guy's arsenal either, and this certainly isn't a top-tier fighter. So I still haven't learned that much about Chimaev through those first 4 fights. And then we get to Gilbert Burns. This is the first real test. You're not going to hear me say negative things about Gilbert Burns here. I love Gilbert. He put up a great fight, back and forth war. But he fought way differently than he has in the past, seeming to want to keep it more on the feet, presumably because of Gilbert's jiu-jitsu. He didn't want to end up stuck in his guard, so did a lot of standing up. But this is where we learned that Chimaev is mortal. Very hittable for Gilbert. Made a lot of mistakes where Gilbert was able to land big shots and seemed to have a bit of a gas tank problem. He didn't look himself in the third round, not even really in the second round if you go back and watch it through. So some may even argue that Burns won the third round of this and won this fight. I don't personally feel that way, but very close fight here, so that should tell you something. And then finally the Kevin Holland fight, which I'm not even going to discuss. Just very frustrating situation to me. Not relevant because of this situation. Chimaev nearly ruins the entire card, forces Holland to fight at catch weight against an opponent he didn't prepare for, and very, very embarrassing situation for Chimaev. He goes out there, comes in 8 pounds over, and celebrates and talks about being the best in the world. It's kind of sickening to me that he put on that display after embarrassing himself and missing weight. So that's unfortunate for him, in my opinion. But it is what it is. So that's all we know about Chimaev at this point. And outside of the Burns fight, there's nothing in that resume that tells me that he's an elite fighter. So at first, I think that this line is a little off. And so let's take a look at Kamaru Usman, who, if you're a follower of the UFC, I certainly hope you know a lot about his game. Looking at Usman, I went back and watched a few of his fights. Watched both of the Edwards fights, watched his most recent fight with Colby, watched his fight with Gilbert Burns. Masvidal one I didn't watch this week, but I've watched recently enough to remember everything from it. There's a lot of people discounting Usman in this fight because of his age and because of his knees. And people are forgetting he had one loss in his career coming into these 2 fights and was beating Leon the entire first title fight up until the head kick. There's a lot of stock being put into this most recent fight with Leon Edwards. I don't know if that's rightfully so or not. I do have my concerns about Usman as well. I'm concerned about leg and body kicks. I haven't seen Chimaev really throw those up to this point, but it's something that Usman doesn't seem to be handling very well at this point in his career. And so if that's something that's in his arsenal, I'm very concerned about that. I'm concerned about him being wobbled. I've seen him wobble by several opponents in pretty much all of these fights in recent years. There was even one really early in the Gilbert Burns fight that I'd completely forgotten about, where Gilbert was dangerously close to putting him out. So that's something that concerns me for sure. I know Chimaev has the power to put him out if he catches him, so that's concerning. And I'm concerned about his size. We know Chimaev is a natural middleweight. Chimaev has certainly got the frame to be at 185. He's done it before. I'm not sure if Usman does or not. It's not like this is a big surprise. We've heard rumors about Usman moving up to this spot for many years now. Supposedly did not want to fight his good friend Israel Adesanya, so he kind of dodged this for a while. That's something in Usman's career that really frustrated me, but that's neither here nor there with that. But there's definitely some concerns here. Uh, Looking at Usman, though, you can't discount the career he's had. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He's going to be able to at least hold his own grappling here, I think. He certainly does have knockout power. We saw that in the Masvidal fight. Um, Very well-rounded, comes in with a good game plan. This is a fight for sure. And I think people that are completely discounting Usman in this spot are making a mistake. Uh, like I did in my last video, I'm going to give you 3 X factors in this fight for me. One of them is going to be if Chimaev's gas tank has improved or not. I was really concerned with what I saw from his gas tank in that Burns fight. Just didn't look himself at all in that 3rd round. Started to fade in the 2nd round. And we know Usman's going to have the gas tank. Unless something's drastically changed in this weight gain or from his age that we haven't seen yet, Usman's going to have the gas tank to make it to the end here. In a 3-round fight, no challenge for him whatsoever. But we don't know about Chimaev for sure. Second is going to be if Chimaev can execute takedowns. I'm actually anticipating he will be able to. He has this skill that he uses in his fights where he shows this big shot early in the fight and shoots immediately and catches fighters off guard. I don't think those kind of tactics are going to work on Usman. But if he just keeps pushing those takedowns with the strength that I expect him to have at this weight class, this isn't like him dealing with Colby and fighting off those takedowns. This is a different level of strength. I'm not sure he has the size to compete with Chimaev in this spots. And that's actually going to be my 3rd X factor. Is Usman fully ready at 185? Does he have his body where it needs to be to fight at this weight? It's not as simple as just gaining the pounds and now I'm stronger and I'm still the same fighter I am at this weight. This is a 15-pound jump. And I definitely have some concerns. I mean, you look how long John Jones took to prepare to go to heavyweight. And I know a lot of that was political stuff and him waiting for the right opponent and a contract and all that. But he took his time because making a big jump in weight is not as simple as just putting on the pounds and jumping back into the octagon. It's going to affect his cardio. It's going to affect his power. It's going to affect he's going to be fighting people at different levels of strength. Is that something he's used to? Is that something he's been working on in the gym? I would assume so. Usman's a professional, and he's going to come into this fight prepared for sure. But it's just a different game at 185. So as I said, I really don't like these fighters out of this area of the world. I think a lot of them are crooked and juiced, and I don't like the way that they handle their business. And I worked really hard to get on Usman in this fight, but as of today, I just can't do it. I really do believe Chimaev is overrated, but there are just too many factors here, from the weight they're fighting at to the short notice to the location being in Abu Dhabi to the age of Usman. All these factors are just playing in Chimaev's favor, and for those reasons, I may reassess this once I see the weigh-ins. I may make some changes, and if I do, I'll let you know on Friday in my gambling show that I plan on putting out Friday. But as of today, I'm just gonna have to ride with Khamzat Chimaev. That's gonna be my pick, unfortunately, for this show. But that's gonna do it for me here, guys. I really hope you appreciate all the information I was able to bring you. As I said, please go like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.